you.
Yeah. Oh, geez.
That's an interesting subject.
Oh my gosh. What a, it's so funny because I want to talk about like what's happening today, So, but I'm just if I'm in the middle of a contract or negotiating, it's tough because you don't want to like.
Well, you don't give up names or specifics.
That's all the juicy details.
Well,
right.
That's why you have to be very careful.
Right. You got to be careful.
That's what they want to hear.
Yeah, they want to hear the juice. They want to hear the juicy details.
Yeah, like I've got a nom. It's not here, but he gave me a deal of the week, so I know basically what that's going to be. So what we'll do then, I have little trivia questions here and fun stuff. If you guys are ready,
Sure.
want to do this? So again, you want to be about that close if you can. So
I'm
it'll
going
be
to get a little bit closer.
Does this little poster have anything to do with the times, or that's an old poster?
710, 828. It's actually 710, 828, 910, 919, 510. So it's off just a little tiny bit.
Yeah. Okay. So you corrected it?
Yeah, everything was correct except for the third one. We have a little more time.
All right, so that's how there'll be a little break coming up. So if you get close to the end of the thing,
I usually like about 1 minute ahead of time because I
Start
have an
hinting.
announcement.
Yeah.
You ready?
All right.
Okay. I'll just let you introduce. Well, welcome. You're listening to The Best of Investing. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Mark Cooper of HL Commercial. Our phone number is 888-912-1190. You're going to use that number to answer the trivia questions for a 5-pack tanning certificate given away during this show. And it is summertime. You want to get that tan on, right?
Yeah.
Gotta get your pre-tan. Get your pre-tan on. All right. Let's see. And the certificates are not sponsored by the radio station, but by Tan Bella Tanning Salon with 2 locations in San Francisco and 1 in Marin. Today's trivia theme is just random trivia. Mark, you want to introduce our guest?
Oh, sure. I brought Shanae Mabrie of Old Republic Orexco Exchange, and a lot of my clients are doing exchanges now. They're selling a property, and they've got to identify a replacement property. And I've been working with Shanae and her company for a couple of years, and she could tell us a little more about what you guys do. But boy, for folks that are doing exchanges, you really want to have a good accommodator. So what is an accommodator?
Well, that's a really great question. And so let's just kind of start with what is a 1031 exchange.
Okay.
And when someone is selling a property that they've owned for investment purposes for a period of time, and they're wanting to sell that property and reinvest into another investment property, well, a 1031 exchange would be a great tool for that, because if they were to just sell the property outright, they'd be paying the capital gains tax, which will be anywhere between 25 upwards of 42%, which is kind of huge.
Plus, it's not only just the low basis for the original purchase, but if they've owned it for a while, they also have the depreciation that they have to recapture at ordinary income, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So by structuring the transaction as a 1031 exchange and utilizing a qualified intermediary, they're able to reinvest that money into another investment property and defer having to pay the tax. So our role in the transaction is we'll prepare all of the legal documentation that's required to facilitate the exchange. We'll receive the proceeds from the sale of their property to hold in trust for them until they're ready to reinvest into another replacement property.
Yeah, because an exchange is not, I exchanged my property for years, you take it from me. I mean, the odds of that happening are really small.
Quite.
Yeah, so it's kind of a 3-way type thing.
Exactly.
Okay. By the way, the term reverse exchange has come up. But can you explain what a reverse exchange is?
So a reverse exchange is really when someone is looking to purchase a replacement property before they complete the sale of the property they want to sell. And that can be a really great tool, especially in the current marketplace that we're in, where it's so difficult to locate the replacement property that they want to buy.
Okay.
And so by structuring it as a reverse exchange, they're going to buy the replacement property first before they complete the sale of the property they want to sell.
We did one of those last year, and it was a really interesting situation. I'll make sure we have enough time, but I was in Escrow. Actually, I had a property listed for sale in San Rafael, and we talked about an exchange with my client, and she said, "Oh yeah, I want to buy like a Airbnb type of house up in Sonoma or Sebastopol." And you can sell any investment property as long as it's not your primary residence.
Correct.
You can sell land and buy a hotel, all kinds of stuff. So we were selling a commercial condo, an office condo, and she said, "You know what I want to do? I want to exchange, and I want to find something up in Sonoma or Sebastopol, buy a cute little cottage, fix it up, and make it an Airbnb house. She said, Mark, when should I start looking?
Okay.
When should I start looking for my replacement property?
Yeah.
And I said, you know what, I think what we should do is wait until we get an offer on yours, because the hot stuff is going to go quick. And if you start looking for properties and we're not in contract yet to sell yours, we're going to face this thing with the timing
Yeah.
where it's like, okay, you need to remove your contingencies. You've got to loan and close on your other property. But we're not even in contract to sell yours yet. Well, if that person has some cash and they can buy the property first, they can do a reverse exchange. She found a property she loved in Sonoma. It was multiple offers, and the only way that she could satisfy her exchange, and not pay the gain on their sale, and buy this other property was the reverse exchange. It was something that Tony suggested was your coworker.
And is there still the same time requirement? Because you can't just keep these things open forever.
Right, so it just works literally in the reverse. So from the date that you close on the replacement property, you have 180 days to complete the sale of the property you were intending to sell. Now, with this type of a transaction where the IRS allows you to buy before you sell, they don't allow you to hold title to both properties at the same time. So because of this, we actually will create an entity, a shell entity that will hold title either to the property being sold or to the property being purchased. And it really just depends on how they intend to pay for the property they want to buy.
Wow, so somebody who's thinking about an exchange, who just hears the word reverse exchange and just says, well, I'll just go ahead and just buy a property, and then I'll go ahead and sell the other one, and there's my exchange. That doesn't work.
Right, you have to have that qualified intermediary in place.
And if you don't sell your property within 180 days, it also destroys the exchange, right?
Well, not really.
No.
What it just means is that they just would have bought a replacement property that they own. They'd still have the opportunity to defer the taxes on that eventual sale by structuring it as a delayed exchange, which is where they're going to sell first and buy second. So that just means they'd have to buy another replacement property. The one that they previously acquired could not be contributed towards the exchange of the future.
No, but then you're going to make
Well,
them buy another property then.
Right, so the
Yeah.
purpose of the exchange is to delay the gain.
Yeah.
So there is no gain if you don't sell the first property, right? So,
True.
right,
But,
so
but
you-
if your intention was to,
Absolutely,
get
yeah.
property B, I mean, I guess, could you have a straw buyer? IRS,
Oh, geez.
hey, turn your radio off.
No.
I mean, could you have a straw buyer, at least just within the 180 days?
So you're saying straw like a fake person.
Well, or, no, I mean, let's put it this
What's
way.
the name of the show?
Yeah.
What's the name of the show?
Earmuffs.
That's fake news. We don't do fake
Yeah,
news.
fake news.
Well, anyway, on that, before you get, maybe off air answer that question, but we're going to get to a quick commercial break here. I'll tell you, it's never a dull moment here on The Best of Investing. Okay, so we're talking random trivia here. Here's our first trivia question. By the way, Shanae, if you know the answer, don't answer it yet because we want the audience to get a shot at it. When we come back from break, you can do that, okay?
All right.
In 1996 and 2000, who was the presidential nominee from the Green Party? That's what we're looking for, right? And I'll tell you, it was not Barack Obama. All right. Call 888-912-1190. If you're the first caller with the correct answer, you're going to win that free tanning certificate. Don't touch that dial. The Best of Investing. I'll be right back.
Tricky one.
All we care about is making good,
So yeah,
good radio.
when you turn your head, you can't go like this. You got to go like this.
Yeah, that's why. I know you want to look at him
Yeah,
when you
you gotta
talk,
go like this.
but the thing is, whenever you do it, I can see the thing going like that. So you may think that you're saying. That's why, again, either you do just like this, or don't even look at him and talk to him.
Oh, man.
Right? Yeah. No, I'm serious. You know, because even
I
when
could
you do
go
this, yeah, or again,
Maybe if I kind of pivot this a little.
yeah, okay, you can
there
do-
we
yeah,
go.
if you do that, that's fine.
I'm turning
That's a
over
good
this
idea.
way, yeah. But, you can't go like this. See, you're not going to get this in.
Okay.
It wasn't that bad, but that's why I wanted to just try to get you focused
Yeah,
on
I
that.
can see
No, you're
the
doing great.
temptation there. Straw buyer, I love it.
Oopers.
You're going to have to edit that one out. Right?
The only time we have to edit it is when
So
someone
there'll be a couple
swears.
times where you can like give out your phone number, or
Yeah,
your
we'll do
website, or like when we shameless plugs.
We like those.
We do like
Shameless
those.
plug. Boy, oh boy, it's getting interesting with Dave and Paige here too, and that's
Quite.
yeah. Oh my gosh.
Is that your
Well,
clients?
we identified on Friday.
Okay.
And one of the properties I wanted to identify was one that was no longer on the market. And I guess we can almost talk about this because we just won't mention any names,
Yeah.
right? And then the other one, we were in backup position, and then she saw. So we had four she was trying to decide from.
Wow.
One in contract, a backup, one she really liked, and then a fourth one. So it's almost like
How many
cliffhanger.
times
But
do people have to buy property they really don't want? You know, like again, property number 4, which is okay, I'll
Right.
settle for this one.
I mean, I gotta say something nice, and then I'll tell Paige to listen on Saturday. We have these great clients.
And that's the other thing is
Yeah.
feel free to promote this.
Absolutely,
on Facebook
tell
or-
folks to come
Yeah.
to listen to the show.
Call me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, you ready? We'll continue on here. Well, welcome back to the Best of Investing. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Cooper of HL Commercial. Our first trivia question was, in 1996 and 2000, who was the presidential nominee from the Green Party?
Gosh, I want to guess Ross Perot. That's the only thing I can come up with here, but it shows how green I am. Right?
I've got nothing.
Got nothing.
Ralph Nader.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
I got the R.
Yeah,
Right?
yes,
Yeah,
yeah, okay,
Give me an R.
okay, that only gives you half a tanning on half your body. Okay.
Get you in forearm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Okay,
No.
so we have, I'm going to say Shanae O'Connor. No, you get that a lot. No, Shanae Mabrie from Old Republic Title Exchange.
Well, not
is it-
title,
not
just
title,
exchange.
just Old Republic Exchange.
Yeah.
You got to make sure you differentiate.
You go a Rexco? Is that what you call
We
it?
were a Rexco,
Oh, so you're not
but we
Rex-
had a name change.
Oh,
So it's formerly Old Republic Exchange.
No.
Now, we're the sister company to Old Republic Title, but we operate independent of one another.
Oh, okay.
And I will do a little plug for Old Republic, which I use for all of my escrows. And I started with Reedy over in Mill Valley, and then I've been doing some in San Rafael too, just because they have offices everywhere. They're
Yeah.
convenient for my rent clients.
They
But
do a very nice job.
it's really great to have all my escrows in one place because I'm juggling multiple deals at a time, and they're available. I've got their cell phone numbers, which I don't use too often. We're friends on Facebook, and it's a great title company, and it's really convenient when my escrow is at Old Republic, and then a client's got an exchange if they're buying or selling, because we can just handle everything right there with Old Republic.
And what a lot of inexperienced investors don't really understand is how important it is to have a good title company who, especially if they know that if the title company or the title officer knows your business. Because I've had situations where sales have delayed or purchases, well, not so much purchases, but sales have been delayed because there was just too much complication going on, and I wasn't allowed to use my own escrow officer. And I kept telling them, I need to use my own escrow officer. There's a reason. I'm not trying to be funny about this. I'm not using
It's important.
I'm not using some crazy company
Well,
in Timbuktu.
Typically, the buyer will dictate the escrow company.
Yeah,
Now,
typically.
I've had some in Northern California at least.
Yeah.
Southern California, wacky stuff goes on. But I have had a few situations where either there was a pre-escrow, the property was in escrow before it fell out, the first escrow company had done all the work, and then the seller agent would say, we've already got it with, First
Fair
American or
Yeah.
whatever else. And I had another deal where offer was almost accepted, and the only thing they countered back was the escrow company, as a matter of fact. And it was surprising because actually one of the sellers worked at the other escrow company. So they countered it back because they wanted to run it through their office, and then they'd get some kind of credit or something like that. I do have a couple of escrow horror stories, actually. If you
Sure,
want to jump on that.
absolutely.
So I've had a few of Southern California stuff. My family does a lot of Southern California land and sales down there. So we're selling properties, and we do a lot in Riverside, San Bernardino. Buyer's agents will dictate the escrow, of course, and look at escrow documents back where, and by the way, I'm happily married to my wife, Galen. But I will get something back where my brother is married to my wife, and I'm an unmarried man, or there'll be some really weird typos, and we've got to chase everybody down to clean up these documents just because this other weird escrow company just doesn't do their homework or give us things to review beforehand.
And how much of it has to do with the fact that you have a popular first name and a popular last name?
Yeah, there you go.
Mark Cooper. I mean,
Yeah, well, my brother's Greg Cooper, but still, I mean, because the things will come back and they'll say Mark Cooper, an unmarried man, and then my brother comes back and the documents are just wrong or misspellings and stuff like that, and it's really crazy. But that's another thing Having a great escrow officer is really important.
Yeah, if this was happening in Marin, I'd say, yeah, hey dude, man, married to this person, that person. But it's
right,
like California
multiple
now.
marriages.
Yeah,
going on.
exactly.
And then I had it even more horror, but go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say is what's important about having a good escrow officer is also a good qualified intermediary.
Absolutely.
And this is not a federally regulated industry. And during the decline in the housing market, our industry dropped by about 90%. And when that happened, there were a number of qualified intermediaries who went belly up and took the exchanger's money with them. So you really want to make sure that you're using a reputable company that has a financial strength to really support the funds. And one thing I can say about Old Republic Exchange that not many other companies can say is we've never had an exchange disallowed because of an error on our part.
Well, that's important because that could be very costly.
Right.
How many do you guys do a year, for example, would you say?
A year?
Or a month?
Well, I'll tell you this. I just closed 110 last month.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, in 1 month?
In 1 month.
That's a lot of exchanges, okay.
So I've got a few thousand under my belt.
Wow.
And roughly, what does it cost to do an exchange?
So you'd be looking, if you're selling one property and buying one property, somewhere between about $1,100 and $1,200 for the exchange.
And that can come out of the exchange funds.
Correct.
So it's not like
Boot.
No
boot.
No
No
boot.
boot.
Yeah, you're right. Not writing checks for it. I have a question. Actually, I was talking to someone that said that the property they were selling, they sold for more than the property that they wanted to buy. Of course, there was no loan, so it was a cash deal. Okay, but the property they were buying needed some work. It needed a new roof. It needed a deck. Can they leave money in escrow and use that to pay for a new roof or a deck or improvements directly to the vendor if it's going toward that exchange property?
That's a very good question.
Would that satisfy the exchange if they need to spend $50,000 to fix the place, and they didn't use it to buy the property?
And they don't want to have to pay tax on the gain. Especially if you're
or income tax on the money that they're going to use to fix the roof.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, so the way that it works is that the IRS says the condition of the property, the day you take title to it, is what determines the value for exchange purposes. So any improvements made after you take title don't count towards the exchange.
That's not the answer you want to hear.
I know, but there is a way in which you can structure it through the exchange, but there's no cheap or easy way to do it.
But could you do the roof prior to the close of escrow? Remove all your contingencies, do the roof, and then close.
If the seller is willing to complete those improvements.
Yeah, that's what you have to do. I mean, that's what I'm hearing is you get pretty much you just have to pay more for the property, but tell the seller he's got to do that.
I want a new roof.
Yeah.
I'll pay an extra $30,000 on the sale price.
Correct.
There you go.
And probably the seller, you got to give the seller a little something to go through the hassle.
Something.
Yeah.
What's the name of the show again?
Yeah. Well, also you got to make sure
that something for his time.
Yeah. Well, exactly. But plus he's not going to warranty anything because it's like you're making him do it.
Right.
Anyway, we got to get to another fast break here. Before we do, I want to make a mention for the Tahoe Lakeshore Lodge and Spa. They provide guests with an all lakefront hotel in South Lake Tahoe. Every room has a view of the lake and the mountains, outdoor heated pool, 500 feet of private beach. They also have a day spa. Check them out at go to TahoeLakeshoreLodge.com or call 800-448-4577. All right, our second trivia question is, in 1701, who invented the seed planting drill? Now, that's a hard question, so I am going to give you a little hint. And this is not that much of a hint, though. Think music in the 1970s. I know that
didn't help.
That didn't help. Okay, stay with us. The Best of Investing will be right back. Yeah, no, I figured this is going to be tough. Once I
like I wasn't thinking of music in the 1970s when you said the date. Was 17 something?
1701.
1701. Music in the 1970s.
You're going to laugh when you hear the answer, though.
Right, but it's just a similar name.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
Similar name. Okay.
It's sort of like, Chevy Chase, and you go, there's a place called Chevy Chase, Maryland, right?
Right.
He has his name.
There you go. All right.
We can go into your email question.
What was my email question again?
Which is, what strategies do you have when working with 1031 client in terms of offer and price and timelines?
Okay, good. Yeah, that's a good one. We can both build that.
Sure.
You have a great radio voice, by
You
the way,
do.
Shanae.
Do I
That-
really?
Yeah.
Oh my
And
God.
you did better on that one because again, as long as you're keeping really close here, and even if you know if you can just kind of look at him rather than even
I
moving
just
your
kind
mouth.
of
Yeah.
lean around.
Or look at you, look at him, and,
Yeah.
or look at him and talk to me. It's either okay. Just try to keep as focused as you can.
I did have someone once complain that I needed to speak for my diaphragm.
You know,
Okay.
I'm the same.
Speak from
I-
the diaphragm.
I don't know how I need to actually learn better because I lose my voice too fast. Not a good
There
sign.
you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
getting hoarse. That happened at the baseball game. You're yelling, "Come on, go!"
Well, no, I sometimes I do back-to-back shows.
Mhm.
You know, actually yesterday I did the sports show, so I didn't have to do it. But I didn't want to talk to you today. Okay, you ready?
Okay, so which one are we on? The third one, 910?
910, yeah. Well, welcome back to the Best of Investing. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Cooper of HL Commercial. Mark Hunt is off today. Second trivia question was a tough one. In 1701, who invented the seed planting drill? And the hint was think music in the 1970s. It's
Still
tough.
didn't come to me.
Is it, Barry White?
No? Jethro Tull.
Nice!
Yeah,
With
Falling
the
Bullet in
tull.
the Jungle, right?
There you go.
That's right. I like that song.
Yeah.
That was a hard one. I gotta admit, that was a hard one. Okay, so Mark, we have an email question we received that seems right up your alley. It says, "What strategies do you have when working with a 1031 client in terms of offer, price, and timelines?"
Wow. Okay. First of all, I would say it's all about the timeline when you close on the first property. So typically, I meet with folks about a week or two before they close on the property that they're selling. Okay. We'll figure out what the criteria is and the price. Also, it's essential to figure out, do they have a loan or are they cash?
Oh.
And Shanae could probably elaborate on that. How does loan versus cash work from the exchange perspective? What are the guidelines for that?
Well, the first thing to be aware of is that in order to fully defer the capital gains tax, you do need to buy a property equal or greater net value to the property you're selling.
Okay.
And the net is going to be the sales price minus the normal cost of sale expenses, which
Like
will include
commission.
things, commissions, transfer tax, notary recording fees, escrow fee, the exchange fee, etc. So let's say you've got a family who's selling an investment property for $500,000. Let's say they've got 6% in cost, so that puts it down to about $470,000. That's what they need to spend on a replacement property to fully defer the tax. And then they need to use all of the cash that they're netting from the sale, which includes their initial investment, as the down payment for the replacement property. And they have to replace the debt with either a new loan on the replacement property equal to the debt relief that they received on the property they sold, or they can buy the replacement property all cash. So if they've got $470,000 cash, they can buy a replacement property for $470,000, or they can buy up in value as much as they can afford.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because I'm seeing people that are they're shopping, but they're not really sure what. Let's say they bought something for $400,000. They sold it for $470,000, and then I'm thinking, okay, the net gain is $70,000.
Not
right?
yet.
Right.
You have to recapture depreciation.
Right.
Too.
Well, depending on how long. Yeah, you're Mr. Recapture over there. Right? Okay. So they meet with their CPA, and the CPA says, you know what, they're going to recapture the depreciation. They've had it for 10, 15 years, and they depending on what's the depreciation? 29?
39 and a half
Yeah.
years for commercial, 20. There should be 39 years for commercial, 27 and a half, which I don't know is kind of a weird
Half.
number.
Yeah.
Half years for residential.
Yeah. So 1/39th of the value of the physical of the
But
structure.
the building, not the land, but
Of the
building,
structure is being depreciated. So if they've had it 39 years, it's been fully depreciated. So
Yeah.
they're gonna look to recapture that depreciation. But so we're starting to look around for properties. We're starting to think, and what I usually like to say to figure out is what is this person's appetite? If I had a restaurant, do they like Italian? What do they like? So sometimes people are really into apartment buildings, and that's what they're comfortable with, and they manage it themselves. They won't want to touch something like a retail building or an office building or something like that. I like mixed use. I like things with retail down, apartments or office upstairs. It's great, especially in a nice downtown core. But I also want to figure out, are they really hands-on?
Yeah.
So what's their appetite? Are they hands-on? What's the geographic area and what's the price? Sometimes they'll say, oh, we've got some cash we can contribute. I'm comfortable with the loan. I'm not comfortable with the loan. And then we start looking at a lot of properties as soon as we can because that clock is ticking. And the way I see it, I want to be in contract, if not closed escrow, within 45 days. Why wait 180 days to close escrow if you've got $2-3 million of equity? For 180 days, for 6 months, that money is doing you nothing. You're not making any money. You don't pay a big interest rate on it.
Right. Good point.
What, do you pay interest at all?
Not if the proceeds are less than $2 million.
Right, okay.
So, just to kind of clarify for the audience here, as far as the timeline that we're referring to, from the date that you close on your investment property for an exchange, you have 45 days to identify in writing to the qualified intermediary the property or the properties you want to buy.
So you have to close, you just have to identify.
Just need to identify, and you're not required to actually be in contract on the property in order to identify it.
But now, in reality, like we say identify, because you can always change the identity, right?
As long as you're within the 45 days. But once you go past that 45th day, you're locked into what you've identified. And there's no changes or substitutions that can be made beyond that point.
Gulp.
Big gulp.
Yeah.
Big gulp. I heard a great story about that too. I don't know if we've talked about it on the show before, but I think they were buying some type of, let's say, 5 units up in Davis. And it was a slam dunk. They were getting a great deal. They identified the property, getting ready to close escrow. Day before they close escrow, and the window's already passed, right? So they're like 50 days into their 1031 exchange. It's the only property the buyer had identified for the exchange, the units up there. Day before they close escrow, building burns down to the ground.
Oh my gosh.
Building, I just got a chill. Building burns down to the ground. So they look to the exchange person and go, well, hey, we don't want to buy this property. It burned to the ground. What am I going to do here? Does it blow the exchange? They went to the seller's insurance. They filed a claim, and they got enough money to rebuild the building. And the buyer went ahead and closed anyway, because they had identified that property. They had to buy that property or pay the gain and the recapture on this property they sold.
Yeah, because there's no IRS exclusion for that kind of situation, is there?
Airplane crashes into the building, still got to buy it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Can you believe it?
I mean, thank goodness. That's really smart, though, for the insurance company, for them to still buy. And then this way, they actually got a brand new building.
Get a brand new building that way. Yeah, sure. So what I was saying about the timeline is you don't need to be in escrow. You don't need to be in contract. But what I like to do is at least be in contract on the properties identifying, because you want to control them. You want to be in the driver's seat if you identify something, because the clock starts ticking, and it starts ticking fast.
Is there a minimum or maximum? Is there a maximum of how many properties are you going to identify?
Well, there's 2 rules of identification that are most commonly used. With the 3-property rule, it allows you to identify and purchase up to 3 properties of any valuation. So what that means is, let's say you have a client who sells property for $1 million. They could identify 3 properties all valued at $3 million each, and they can close on any combination of those 3. The second rule of identification.
You mean, wait, hold on. If they sold for $1 million, you mean 300,000?
No, they
That's
can.
$3 million.
They can identify 3 properties all valued at $3 million each.
Equal or greater value of the equity and the debt that they sold. They can buy something bigger.
And how much do they sell the other one for? You said $1 million.
$1 million. So under the
They're going to finance it.
Okay.
They're going to finance what they buy. And they could buy all 3.
Because I was wondering, why don't they just rip a thing out of the MLS and say, here, I'm identifying something in here. You know what I mean?
But that might be an escrow. It might be in contract already. You want to identify something you can actually close on.
True, but I mean, if you say, here's 1,000 different buildings, don't worry, I'll close on one of them.
That didn't work.
Didn't work.
Now,
Can't
there's
do
a
that.
second rule of identification, which is more commonly used if someone's identifying multiple properties of lesser value, which says you can identify 4 or more properties, but the aggregate value of all the properties identified could not exceed 200% of what you sold.
There you go. Okay, so there's another.
Yeah.
That's an IRS rule?
It is.
Okay, so that's the limitation. That's another limitation as to why you can't just rip a
They
page
call
out of
that the Edward Brown rule.
Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't there a 95% to something like that as well? Or?
There is, but it's so rarely used. And essentially what it says is you can identify any number of properties at any valuation, but you have to close on 95% of what you've identified or the entire exchange fails.
I did one of those.
Really? Well, I was going to say, I can understand that one being rare. Tell you what, we're going to go to our third trivia question here. Again, this is very random. First was a Ralph Nader, next was Jethro Tull, Bungle in the Jungle. And then this one here is, who was the first thoroughbred horse to win $1 million? That's kind of a tough one. You definitely have heard of the horse.
Actually, it was the jockey. The horse didn't get any money at all.
Well, that is true.
Or the
That
owner.
is
The
true.
owner got
Yeah,
the
yeah,
money.
exactly.
Trick question.
What horse was being ridden, I guess, is technically the correct term. Call 888-912-1190. Be the first one, and you'll win that certificate for canning. 415-29, excuse me, 912-1190. Don't touch that dial. The best of investing. I'll be right back.
Okay, good one. All right, yeah, so I got my 95% story. That's good. I was afraid we're not going to have stuff to talk about here. Now, where are we? Was that 919 or 910?
That was the
910.
910
910.
one.
Okay.
And I'll go ahead and do my deal of the week here.
Okay. Well, this is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before I do my thing here, let's give out your information.
Okay.
Yeah. How to reach
You're doing
you
a good job.
and stuff. Yeah. And do you float between the offices, or where Walnut Creek, or what's the?
So I base out of our Novato office,
Uh-huh.
but I cover Pacific Northwest United States. So I specifically manage and market to everything north of San Francisco, Washington, Oregon, and Utah.
We can get that on the
Well,
lunch.
yeah.
And that includes San Francisco? Or is that somebody
I
else?
can handle exchanges in San Francisco, but I don't market to them. We actually have someone in our company who manages exchanges in San
Yeah, 'cause I
Francisco.
And I would think
Keep it
that
busy.
every once in a while you'd need, or you could refer hard money.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I was thinking for the reverse exchange because
Yeah.
you found something you love.
Yep.
You need to sell your other property first. You don't have the cash to do it. Hard money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because we've done 100% financing if there's enough equity in the current house.
I've given out your contact information quite a few
Well,
times.
thank you very much.
What do we need Cooper for? Get him out of here. Let's just get him.
No, we still need. Well,
We
we
still-
still need you.
I'm just-
Okay, ready? Here we go. Well, welcome back to the Best of Investing one more time. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Cooper of HL Commercial. Here's our third trivia question. Now, you guys are 0 for 2, so let's see if you can get this one. Who was the first thoroughbred horse to win $1 million?
I'm going Secretariat.
That's what I was
That's what
thinking.
I would think was before that. Citation.
Citation.
In the 1940s, which, I mean, $1 million back then was
Whoa.
a lot.
Yeah.
So, Shanae, before we move on to something else, how do people get a hold of you if they're thinking about doing an exchange?
Great question. My phone number is 888-677-1031. How about that?
1031. I like that.
Give out your email too, or is that too much?
I do, but it's so long,
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
often easier to just
Just call. Just call.
There you go.
There you go.
Old Republic Exchange, right?
Well, it's my first initial and last name, so it's SMABRIE at OREX, like X-ray, CO, 1031.com.
Or exo1031.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that one right. Okay, so now Mark Hunt wasn't here, but he did give me a deal of the week to discuss on the radio here. So it says that they have a borrower that's looking to close a loan within a week for $380,000. The borrowers are using the collateral in their current home, which is located in the Bay Area, to fund the construction of a home in Reno, and they own the lot. Their current house is valued at $1 million, plus they own it free and clear. So this is going to be a less than 40% loan to value, and then they'll pay off the loan when they sell that primary residence. Now, most banks will not lend because they'll have two houses, or actually they have a house and a half, really, because it's being constructed. So a lot of banks won't do that, and also they need to. Apparently, they have to close this loan in about a week, so that's another reason why the banks won't do it. So, Mark Hunt of Pacific Private Money gives me this one where, I mean, that's a good loan for Pacific Private Money, and for the borrower, you know, he's going to pay a little bit more interest than he would at the bank, but at least he's able to get his This is effectively, I guess, it's going to be a construction loan. I mean, but Pacific Private Money doesn't need to necessarily get involved in the construction part of it. They'll give them a cash out loan. They own the property $1 million free and clear. They say, here's $380,000. Do anything you want with it. Now they happen to want to build the construction of their house, so that's a very conservative loan for them. And you know they'll probably charge them a little over 9%, a couple of points, and you know it's expensive, but it gets them what they need.
I was going to say in Tahoe, they better start that construction now.
Yeah.
Because it's going to start snowing and get cold up there.
Good point. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, maybe that's the reason why they need to close it so quickly. That's a very good point.
Because I was thinking like, well, geez, they can just go to any bank and get a first mortgage, right? This place is free and clear.
Yeah.
But the clock's ticking, and that's where Pacific Private Money really comes in.
Correct. The other thing though is some banks won't just do a cash out for that kind of deal. I don't know what their income is, and then what's the purpose? They always want to know what's the purpose of the loan. Oh, we're gonna build a house in Reno.
Buy a motorcycle.
Yeah, buy a motorcycle, exactly. And that doesn't work so well. So, for those borrowers who are listening to the show, if they want to call Pacific Private Money at 415-883-2150 or go to pacificprivatemoney.com. And then on the flip side, for people who go, gosh, that's a pretty conservative loan, I'd love to participate in something like that. You can also call them at 415-883-2150 because they have a fund that invests in loans just like this that are very conservative, and they're paying currently about 7.75%, and it's paid out on a monthly basis. So it's what, 0.65% or something, whatever it is, 0.625% per month, which is more than a lot of banks are paying in a year. They're paying in a month. So it's very conservative. So check them out, pacificprivatemoney.com.
Nice. Yeah. Well, I was thinking about my 95% rule.
Yeah.
I was saying that I had one of those, and it was something I never even heard of because I thought, okay, 200%. Identify 3, close as many as you want. A few years back, we sold a house that we had down in El Segundo, my brother and I. And what I decided I wanted to do, we were free and clear. I wanted to buy individual houses in outlying areas, and then I also partnered into 2 office buildings. So I wanted to close on 5 properties.
My goodness gracious! If I had your money, I'd put mine away.
So I want to close on 5 properties, and I'm getting ready to do my identification, and that they say is, well, you're going to get into the 95% rule if you're going to close on 5. And I was like, well, what exactly is that? What is 95%? So 95%, correct me if I'm wrong, you can identify 20 properties and close on 19 of them.
Well, you have to close on 95% of what you identify.
Which is 19
Yeah.
of the
Right,
of the
but
20,
or I need to close on, how else would you hit 95%?
Well, it's 95% of the total valuation.
Okay, so there you go.
Okay, so it's not the number of properties, it's
Right,
the
it's the
valuation.
valuation
Okay,
of
so
what's
because you might have had a
So
$1
it's
million
like-
property and 2
Right,
or a
2
bunch
little
of
tiny ones, right?
yeah.
So you got to hit 90. You got to place 95% of what you identified.
Correct.
Okay. Well,
Boy,
good. Luckily,
Shanae, you're in a very sophisticated business.
I am.
and the laws change daily.
I know, that's the other thing. And kind of going on to that note for a minute, wasn't Congress thinking of just like saying, let's just get rid of 1031 exchanges?
What's the latest update on the 1031 hearing?
Well, there was an economic study that was done to show just the impact that the elimination of 1031 exchanges would have on not just the real estate market, but different sectors of.
I mean, I could just name. Right off the top of my head, I'm thinking, okay, first of all, the ones who do the exchange, like your company, boom, done, over. Realtors are going to get hit.
Escrow companies.
Escrow companies.
Farmers.
Well, they're selling their land and then it's being developed. Cattle. There you go.
Wow. Well, okay, so actually, this is a question I was going to ask you on the air, because I think some people have this question. It's a like kind exchange.
Mm-hmm.
They do consider land is like of a building.
Correct.
But if you can't have a situation where you have you can't trade a REIT for a building.
Right.
Right.
So a REIT is a real estate investment trust where you actually own shares, and you don't have direct ownership in the real property. So a REIT is not exchangeable for real property.
What about a single member LLC?
A single member LLC is the same as an individual person, as long as that LLC is disregarded for tax purposes.
Exactly.
So
could you do that then?
you couldn't. Well,
But you can't exchange. You can't exchange the LLC interest.
correct.
Okay, it still has to be the property.
Right.
Gotcha.
So an interest in an LLC is not exchangeable.
Okay.
All right, so I've got a question here. So some of the property that my family has was before I got married.
Mm-hmm.
So I sell a property off that I'm a single owner,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's time to close, and I think, well, shoot, I should put my wife on there, right? We're married. Does that change if I put my wife or significant other on there with me? Then I'm only 50% owner of this property, and the vesting has changed. Does that affect anything?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. And when you're exchanging, the IRS is looking at who is the taxpayer of record, who's been the person that's been reporting this property as investment on the tax return. And when you add a person to the title on the property just before the sale occurs, Well, technically, that person hasn't met the holding period to qualify for the exchange. And there's not a bright line rule that clearly defines what that holding period is, but most tax professionals will tell you 24 months is generally a safe timeline. So if you add a party to title just before the sale occurs and you both exchange, well, in the event of an audit, the IRS could say, you know what, that person didn't meet the holding period.
I would have thought at least 12 months, not 24.
Just depends on how aggressive you want to be. I think
Yeah,
you're quite aggressive.
I mean 24 is
7 days, come on.
Yeah. Now, some more aggressive CPAs might say 1 year spanned over 2 tax periods. And
yeah,
the reason why 24 months kind of comes up is, again, there's no
2 out of 5
bright line
years.
rule. Well, no, but
No.
there's no bright line rule in the tax code that defines a holding period. But there were some recent revenue procedures that kind of point to 24
really,
months.
that's the reason. Okay, we're going to cut to our last commercial break. When we come back, we're going to have some closing comments on the best of investing. Don't touch that dial.
Good guest here, huh?
Yeah, very, very good. Yeah, there's a lot of good.
You said Tony came on once before.
Yeah.
And I didn't see that show.
She did well.
Yeah.
But
Big shoes to
actually,
fill.
though, I think
I went shoe
I
shopping.
think you're doing better. I mean, it's nothing fun.
You hear that,
personal.
Tony?
No, I think it's because there maybe it's
Well, we
because
have-
of you.
we
Because
have-
there's more. No,
But we have,
seriously,
there's stuff. You need to. You can't just have one person sit up here and talk for an hour.
I think that's what the problem was. I think when Tony was here, I think it was just she and I think I'd have to go back.
And you're just
to it.
worried about the recapture depreciation. You can't spend an hour on that.
Literally, I've been approached about selling my building in the Silicon Valley, and I look at it and I go, well, first of all, I wouldn't have too much of a gain, but I look at it and I go, what would I exchange into?
Well, let me know if you need a qualified intermediary.
Yeah, well, no, definitely, but it's you know what,
So
honestly, it's the kind of property.
What's your net based on how much equity you have in the property right now? I mean, you making 8% or is it 4 or 5? You know, I mean, a lot of the times we've sold stuff because the depreciation was gone.
Well, that's
Yeah.
a great marketing
Exchange.
strategy,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, the thing is, what I have to look at is the value of the building and the income I'm getting from the building.
Absolutely.
That's what I have to really look
Well,
at.
and I was also saying that, how long have you had it?
Since 1994.
Okay, so you're looking at what, somebody do the math for me here, 23 years?
22 years. I owned it before the internet, basically.
There you go, right. You're
So-
just like, Palo Alto.
Well, and I've
just buy
had
something down here.
in Sunnyvale, and I had it. Just before the .com, I locked in leases so that by .com I missed it, and then by .bomb my leases came due. It was absolutely
Oh, no.
perfectly worst time.
Worst timing ever.
Yeah, but then.
And what's the name of the show?
Take it from me.
But we changed the. I went through this and this, and now it's back up here again. But my wife and I have talked about it. It's the kind of building that we like keep in the family.
Yeah.
Just kind of.
I mean, if you don't have to sell it, you can.
No. And again, I've looked at.
And then what? The tax basis is low.
It's
Right.
pretty low. I had an unsolicited offer for $8 million back in 2001, and at the time I looked, I was making really good income on it. I'm getting an 8% return on it. Based on that, I said, why would I sell? I'd have to replace it with something, and I'd have to either pay tax or exchange, right?
Yeah.
And then the bottom fell out, and it got down to being worth about $2 million.
You're like, I could have taken
Yeah.
it.
I did the old homework sense of All right, so we only have 5 minutes left. About 4 minutes because I've got the little thoughts for the day here. How do you want to finish up?
Well, a few more tips about, getting a good broker to help with your exchange. I think we're good there. I would like to hit on that recapture depreciation a little bit too, because I don't think people realize, they go, oh, look at all this money I'm making, or all these rents are coming in. But once the depreciation is gone on a property, that's when it really starts to make sense to sell it. And my brother and I inherited stuff, and when we had very little expenses, which meant we were taxed on everything.
Yeah. It was a shelter for a while, but
it was great.
All right, here we go. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Cooper of HL Commercial, and our special guest, Shanae Mabrie of Old Republic Exchange.
You got it.
Hey, I got that right. It only took me about 30 minutes. No. So, Mark, you got a few questions?
Well, I was
going
to say, sometimes people approach me and they say, God, we've had this property forever. It's kicking off good income. Why would I want to sell this? For example, let's say you inherited a house and you've had it 20, 30 years and it's kicking off $5,000 a month, and maybe you have no mortgage. It's just this big cash cow. Well, I've talked to clients that are in that situation, and when you have very little expenses, you have very little write-offs, especially if the depreciation is gone. Once the depreciation is like, a gift from heaven for real estate investors, because you can, it's like a paper write-off on your property where you can appreciate the rewards. Once the depreciation is gone, you're not getting that benefit anymore. So properties that have been depreciated or something that you've had a long time with no mortgage, that's a time where you want to really start to look at it and think, it's not the income that you've got, but how much equity do you have tied up in this property? Is it time to think about an exchange, sell this and step up to something larger, maybe even take a mortgage out, buy a multi-unit property instead of...
Okay, but that's where the risk comes in, where you're going from debt-free to potentially taking on some debt, because don't you reduce the new property by the gain that you're deferring? I mean, basically you're trading basis.
The basis gets carried forward.
Yeah, the basis gets carried forward. What I've heard is depreciate, and then die.
Yeah.
And that's how it gets stepped up to your heirs.
Yeah.
But I would always say, talk to a good real estate broker that specializes in the market, the assets, and the neighborhood that you have your property. I like Southern Marin. I do a lot of Mill Valley, Corte Madera, San Rafael, San Anselmo. So that's where I specialize in. Oftentimes I'm approached about a property and I might have done a broker price opinion on that before. I might have the leases already that have been given to me. I saw something in Fairfax that came on the market and I was like, wow, I've got all the leases for that property already. So that was pretty cool. But find a good broker. I'm with HL Commercial. My cell is 415-608-1036. My email is Mark, M-A-R-K, @HLCRE.com. Love to talk to you about real estate.
And Shanae, why don't you give out your information one more time?
Sure. Phone number is 888-677-1031. You can also access our website, orexco1031.com.
And if they can't remember all that, if they go to Old Republic Title and say, hey, who's the exchange people, that's another way you can get them.
There you go.
All right. So again, I will give a last plug here for Pacific Private Money, because they're still providing mortgage investments that are currently yielding about 7 3/4. It dipped to about 7.5, and then they raised it up again. And I've got some of that in my IRA, and I just love getting that monthly check. Of course, I don't get it. I see it in my IRA. And that's the other thing is a lot of people they'll invest their IRAs in this because again, it's deferred. We love that word, deferred.
There we go.
What's the minimum? Do you remember the minimum?
50,000, and you can reinvest your distributions. Mm-hmm. So the compounded yield would be almost 8%.
Nice.
All right, we're going to thank you very much again, Shanae, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, talking about 1031 exchanges. Let's see, and of course, Mark Cooper, I want to thank you yet again for being an excellent co-host. Here's our thoughts for the day. John Wooden, remember him? Basketball coach? Said, don't measure yourself by what you have accomplished, but by what you should have accomplished with your ability. Wise man. And Lou Brock, remember him, the base stealer for the St. Louis Cardinals?
Oh, yeah.
Show me a guy who's afraid to look bad, and I'll show you a guy you can beat every time.
There you go.
Words of wisdom. All right. And with that note, we are going to sign off. So tune in next week to The Best of Investing. Why? Because we're going to be giving away more free prizes for answering trivia questions. Hopefully we'll make them a little easier because these were really pretty tough.
I like when you have a category. It kind of preps me a little bit for it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because you don't know what we're coming up with. We surprise you. I never want to make our co-hosts look bad, though. When they go, I don't know what the answer is. Of course, I know the answer because I am the one who came up with these questions. Of course, I researched them. All right, don't touch that down. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown. We're wishing you the best of investing. So long.
All right, another great show.
Very good.
Thank you.
Yeah, so go ahead and
If
blast
you're ever
out.
sick, run that one again. That was a good one.